This week, Michelle Pfeiffer finds her kidnapped son in the deep end of the ocean.
Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Philippe conspire against Reese Witherspoon with cruel intentions.
And psychiatrist Billy Crystal is in crisis when mobster Robert De Niro says, analyze this.
Kids don't just vanish up in smoke. Kids don't just get lost. People lose them.
Treat Williams confronts his wife, Michelle Pfeiffer, over their kidnapped child in the deep end of the ocean, one of 5 new films we'll be reviewing this week, plus a tribute to the great Stanley Kubrick. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, and joining me in the balcony is this week's guest critic.
Thanks, Roger. I'm Elvis Mitchell of NPR's Weekend Edition and the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and I'm from L.A. We have crime, but it's just not cold enough, so I'm happy to be here now.
But you're from Detroit. You're used to the cold.
Yeah, but I left.
And now you're back. Okay, first movie. The Deep End of the Ocean is one of those movies where they seem to have assembled all of the parts, but left out most of the connections and a lot of the believability. It stars Michelle Pfeiffer as a mother whose 3-year-old son disappears from a hotel lobby one day. She blames herself, and her guilt drives a wedge into her marriage with Treat Williams. Then one day, 9 years later, their doorbell rings.
Mommy? Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Yes, amazingly, that is her missing son. He's been raised by a man who knew nothing about the kidnapping. Almost instantly, the boy is back with his birth family, but he tells his mom he misses the only father he has ever known.
I love my dad. And I loved my mom, too. She didn't mean to be sick, so why do I have to be punished when it wasn't my fault?
That's Ryan Merriman as the long-lost son. The missing son's return causes tension in the family, and soon the older son, played by Jonathan Jackson, gets into trouble.
Vincent, do you know how lucky you were? Mr. Dieter's car was totaled. You could have... Mom, I don't need that right now, okay? What are you doing here? I've been doing fine without you.
Whoopi Goldberg plays the detective who's been on the case so long, she's a friend of the family.
I can't win with Vincent. He hates me.
He doesn't hate you. What are you talking about? He loves you. Have you never seen the way that he looks at you? All he wants you to do is to forgive him.
Now, there is a character missing from those clips that were supplied by the studio, and that's the man who raised the young boy as his own son. That other dad is well played by John Kapelos in the few scenes that he has, but the movie is so dazzled by its big stars that it misses the real human story. Sure, yes, we do feel the grief of the parents whose son was kidnapped, but after 9 years, their wounds have started to heal, and now another father is having his son taken from him. And as the movie wanders through pointless scenes of folk dances and restaurant celebrations and birdhouse building, we keep thinking about that other dad. The Deep End of the Ocean is an example of a movie so starstruck it doesn't pay attention to the logic of its own story.
I'm just thinking, you flew me to Chicago to talk about this movie? I mean, the weird thing about it is like it's a USA movie with real method acting.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of depth of emotion, of suffering, to the most schematic problem picture you could think of.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I felt. Did you feel that there were some scenes missing? That even though the movie seemed to have too many scenes for my taste,
yeah, maybe stuff missing, but what do you keep?
There have to be some transitional scenes, don't you think, to involve the father? I mean, how does he feel?
See, I think with the movie is it's way too fair. I mean, it takes time to give everybody his scene at some point, and it's about one person's story, even though it is starstruck. I mean, she gets these radiant close-up shots. You can see all this sort of robotizing, all the wonderful distended veins in her forearms and neck, and she looks amazing in it, but it's not about anything after a while. I think the kid who plays the older son, Jonathan Jackson, is actually quite good, too.
Yes, he is.
He's got a real career ahead of him.
Actually, Michelle Pfeiffer is good, but she's just in the wrong screenplay.
You're right. Okay, our next movie is a British film noir comedy, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. One of the biggest hits in England last year. Lock, Stock moves like it was fired from a smoking barrel. It follows Eddie and his boys, a pack of good-time fellows with a taste for petty crime.
So I said I'm on the road, so I need a car, but I know that I'm getting alive.
But the fellas' hunger for a bigger score gets them in trouble when their involvement with a rigged card game goes sour. In this scene, Eddie's bar owner dad, played by Sting, is told about his son's debt by a poker-faced leg breaker, well played by Vinnie Jones.
Remember, you do have the luxurious advantage of being able to sustain your son's life.
And you do have a reputation, so I'll choose my words very carefully. You tell Harry to go f*** himself.
Roger, this is certainly a movie I wanted to like. Director Guy Ritchie's technique can best be described as compulsively exhibitionistic. He's claimed to not have seen any Quentin Tarantino, which means that this is an intuitive combination of Pulp Fiction and Trainspotting. It's proud of being superficial and opportunistic, and I think what we get is something that's confident and generates excitement, but it's attention deficit filmmaking. It's shallow yet empty. I cannot recommend Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels as much as I was kind of intoxicated by it.
I give it kind of a marginal thumbs up, although I know what you mean by this director who started out making commercials in England, and there's one shot early in the film where they're putting vegetables into a pot of water, and the camera is on the bottom of the pot, shooting up at the vegetables coming into the water, and I'm thinking, you know, this guy probably does have a background in beer commercials.
I think, but there are lots of kids who make movies like this, and I think he's a really amazing, intuitive filmmaker. There's that opening shot when the guys are running and the money goes flying out of their hand, and he just kind of luxuriates in the money flying around. I mean, he's more interested in people than he is, I'm less interested in people than he is basically in the filmmaking.
In the filmmaking, yeah, he likes to use freeze frames of things and then starts them up again, or slow motion or fast motion, or anything he can think of to do with the camera. And the plot, of course, is almost completely impossible to understand, even after I've seen the movie twice. Nevertheless, the energy level, just the stuff as it was happening on the screen, amused me and entertained me.
Well, I can't wait to see his next movie. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay, coming up later, Billy Crystal is the shrink for mob boss Robert De Niro. Coming up next, sneaky teenage mind games in Cruel Intentions.
She's young, supple.
She'll be my greatest victory. I just didn't feel right about it.
You're telling me you had the chance and you didn't? God, are you a chump?
Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Philippe are Catherine and her stepbrother Sebastian, rich Manhattan preppies in that scene who play wicked sex games in Cruel Intentions, a remake of the same 18th century novel that inspired 3 other films, including Dangerous Liaisons. Those films are about jaded Europeans. This film is startling in the way it imports their decadence to America, updates it, moves it down a generation, and makes it, if anything, even more cynical. In the movie, Catherine makes her stepbrother a bet that he can't seduce a virtuous girl at their school.
If I win, then that hot little car of yours is mine.
And if I win?
I'll give you something you've been obsessing about ever since our parents got married.
His target, the virginal Annette, played by Reese Witherspoon as the school headmaster's daughter. She has just written a National Magazine article against premarital sex.
Would you mind turning around so that I could put on my bathing suit?
I'm sorry. So embarrassing.
You know, it amazes me someone as charming as you could be so manipulative.
Sebastian also toys with a sweet but naive teenager named Cecile, played by Selma Blair.
You know, you could be a model.
Really?
It's too bad you're not sexy.
I can be sexy.
At least Cruel Intentions is upfront about its depravity. Gellar and Philippe have surprisingly good chemistry, and the underlying story remains a strong one. I kept having the odd sensation that I was looking at a high school production of a grown-up play, but it was a good production, spirited, and I liked it.
I think it's cynicism from an aerosol can. It's like a high school play with sock puppets. I mean, it's a movie that attempts to be very smart, but John Hughes has already preempted these guys with this stuff. He's actually made a bunch of really interesting versions about this kind of movie. And what he does is he actually brings romance into the heart of cynicism, which in the end is what the real Dangerous Liaison is all about.
But Hughes never gets really down to the same kind of decadence that this movie has. I mean, the thing that shocked me about this movie is how frank it was about its sexuality and how upfront it was about it.
I don't know. It seems like though they just kind of lack a certain inner life, which is what made this thing a real comedy and a real tragedy.
Well, Sarah Michelle Gellar, though, and Philippe, it seemed to me that in their scenes together, they did have an inner life. I mean, they were really kind of drawn together magnetically by this both sexual and personal rivalry.
See, I felt like I was watching a Vogue spread playing out in front of me. I think she's a really good actress. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but the 2 movies I've seen her in, between Simply Irresistible and this, I've not yet seen her give a chance to sort of play from the inside in a way that I know that she can do. She's really glib in a way that makes it uninteresting.
That would be another movie. I mean, I liked Simply Irresistible, too. I think she has it on the screen. I think she really does. Kind of a Demi Moore in a way, and I'm sure that someday she's going to get better scripts and so forth, but I think that in this movie there is something going on.
Well, I wish there were something going on in this movie. But coming up next, gangster Robert De Niro makes psychiatrist Billy Crystal an offer he'd like to refuse in Analyze This.
Feel better?
Yeah, I do. You saw that there was something that I was trying to do, and you
You figured that out. That's why you are who you are. God bless you. I'm gift.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do.
Psychiatrist Billy Crystal not only has a gift, he also has a client that he doesn't want, mob boss Robert De Niro. In the comedy, Analyze This. De Niro has what they used to call the shakes, and what they now call panic attacks. In seeking to deal with this problem, De Niro uses the same no-nonsense approach that has, well, kept him in the mob business so long.
When I get back to New York, I will treat you exclusively, okay? For 2 weeks. I just have to figure out what I'm going to tell my other patients.
You want me to clear your schedule for you?
Oh, no.
I would be my honor. My pleasure.
No.
Jimmy!
No, not Jimmy. I will do this myself.
De Niro's insistence slams into Crystal's life like a Justice Department subpoena. He ruins Crystal's wedding to a TV correspondent, played by Lisa Kudrow, who's just as willful as De Niro.
How could you do that?
Another country heard from him.
Gotta go. Maybe we should wait downstairs.
Why? Are they going to throw me off the balcony, too?
You're upset, and you're upsetting me.
Well, of course I'm upset. My wedding is ruined because you've got problems.
Finally, Crystal gets to exert some influence over De Niro. He instructs De Niro to get in touch with his feelings during a phone call to a puzzled mob rival, played by a bullish Chaz Palminteri.
I'm very angry. I'm feeling very angry about that. I'm really I'm enraged. I'm feeling very, very mad about that.
Yeah, so why are you telling me?
Why am I telling you? Like you don't know nothing about it? Huh? I don't know what you don't know nothing. What?
It's polished and everything fits neatly into place, but it's all too predictable. It's like De Niro's doing an impression of Al Baldwin's impersonation of De Niro from Saturday Night Live. And Billy Crystal has gone from being in a Woody Allen movie to playing Woody Allen. Analyze This congratulates you for keeping up with his safeness. I didn't much like it.
Oh, come on.
Where are we going?
It was fun. It was fun. De Niro, I think you're being very unfair to De Niro. I think that's kind of a glib line about him doing Saturday Night Live, because what De Niro is doing here, I think, is basically playing the guy more or less as he would play him in a regular movie. He's not adding a lot of level of satire. He's just kind of sincerely looking at this shrink and trying to deal with the fact that his whole world has collapsed inside of him. I think that De Niro gets the laughs by playing it straight.
Okay, here's what I think, because this is why I'm here. I think that De Niro's been doing this for so long, it feels like parody now. I mean, what felt like really original, inventive explosiveness is now kind of this hollow, predictable, dynamic stuff. And that's why it feels like he's doing it.
So what's he supposed to do, retire?
Well, he's actually more fun to watch when he's not doing this kind of stuff, when he's doing like a thing like he did in Jackie Brown, where he doesn't have the weight of the entire movie on him. I think it kind of works in this case.
I think you've got to have a De Niro to play this character. I mean, you can't just take an actor who isn't identified with mob movies and make it funny, because he has to bring to his relationship with Crystal some of the baggage of his other films.
Well, I think the movie actually, that's part of the joke, unfortunately. That's why I think the movie's kind of playing it safe, and that we're all in on this joke. He's been doing it for so long now. I mean, even the movies could barely sit through, like Casino, that you might as well make fun of it. And Crystal actually comes off better because he's playing it from the outside. So you'll have that same level of sort of free song. You're not feeling bad for him the way you feel.
Crystal's very good. And what about the big guy, Jelly, played by Joseph Vitarelli, who's kind of De Niro's bag holder? I thought that he was really good as a supporting actor.
The movie gets its laughs, but I think it's a glib, cheap comedy, and there's a much better version of this playing on HBO now, as you know, The Sopranos, which actually happens to be smart and about emotional involvement in a way this movie is not.
Okay, next movie. Our next film is a science fiction potboiler named Wing Commander. During the same week when the director of 2001 has died, I don't think we have to spend a lot of time on this recycled video game. Checky Cario commands a ship approaching a space-time vortex. Matthew Lillard is the hotshot pilot who doesn't think they can jump it, but Freddie Prinze Jr., whose father was a member of a spacefaring race, thinks he instinctively knows how to.
10 seconds to jump, sir! So if you don't get that computer back online, sir, this unstable gravity well is gonna suck us in one molecule at a time, sir!
Prinze is likable here, but it's a lost cause. The two men end up on a much larger battleship where the pilots are commanded by the beautiful Saffron Burrows.
Man, Lieutenant Hunter was just helping Marshall and I feel at home.
And Jürgen Prochnow plays the commander of the ship, which wages war with enemy aliens.
Fire troops 1 and 2!
You may remember Jürgen Prochnow there as the captain of the submarine in Das Boot, and no wonder he turns up again here, because Wing Commander is essentially a Navy movie set in the vast sea of space. It has all the cliches of naval battles, including battleships firing broadsides at each other and nervous submarine crews listening for the sounds of big destroyers overhead. We even hear ping, ping on the soundtrack, even though sound doesn't travel in space. What this movie doesn't have is characters I cared about, a plot worth bothering about, or battle scenes that were anything more than video game target practice.
Yeah, you know, in space, no one can hear you leave. You know, it reminded me of the part of the video game you scroll past in order to get to the real game. And what's amazing about it is that it's essentially a ripoff of Star Wars, because it's a Star Wars video game. So it's Star Wars fakeness.
Star Wars, with the difference that Star Wars is about people and about myth, and this movie is about real dumb people, and they just shoot at each other. Coming up next, our video pick of the week is a tribute to the late, great Stanley Kubrick.
Dr. Strangelove, do we have anything like that in the works? A moment, please, Mr. President.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
There died in England last Sunday one of the great free spirits of the movies, Stanley Kubrick. For the last 35 years, since the success of Dr. Strangelove, he marched to the sound of his own drum, making the movies he wanted to make, the way he wanted to make them, in his own good time. He made at least 4 films that are generally considered masterpieces, and one at least that will live as long as people project images onto screens. That one would be 2001: A Space Odyssey, the great visionary 1968 film about Man the Toolmaker, which begins with the first tool using apes, and then continues with the tools that would allow us to escape even the planet of our birth. Another of his widely hailed works is A Clockwork Orange, a film I've never admired as much as most people do. Its images have entered into the general imagination, though, especially Malcolm McDowell as a violent vandal being brainwashed into harmlessness.
You proved to me that all this ultra-violence and killing is wrong and terribly wrong.
And, of course, Dr. Strangelove was among the great sardonic screen comedies. Said at the height of the Cold War, it made dark comedy out of the possibility of nuclear war. Kubrick's other great anti-war film was Paths of Glory in 1957, with Kirk Douglas as a French lawyer who finds himself commanding an infantry regiment in the brutal trench warfare of World War I. Stanley Kubrick was one of a kind, a towering figure who made films almost by hand, burnishing every detail like a loving craftsman. At the time of his death, he had just finished the erotic thriller Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. It opens this summer.
You know, one of the things people forget about Kubrick is that he made these movies, the very early ones like The Killing, were real close to the ground thrillers that had a lot of emotional weight to them and were film art in not a heavy, portentous way. And Matt, you think back to the movie we talked about earlier, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, it probably lifts a lot from this movie about an elaborate racetrack theft that doesn't quite work out.
You know, in a way, in the late 40s, with movies like Fear and Desire, which he kind of suppressed, and The Killing, he was sort of like the Scorsese of that time. He financed those movies himself. He made them real close to the ground, like you said. He was operating outside the studio system at a time when that simply wasn't done, and he has always operated completely as a lone wolf.
He's a real independent, too, and he's really changed the face of movie history. I mean, one of the things about Clockwork Orange, a movie that actually has a great performance, Malcolm McDowell, maybe the last great performance in a Kubrick film, basically ended adult movies in this country because newspapers stopped taking ads because that movie was so controversial and violent and combined violence and sex in an unusual way, I think.
Well, The Killing and all of the other titles we mentioned are available on home video, on tape, and disc, and there are video picks of the week. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. Neither of us liked The Deep End of the Ocean, the kidnapped child tearjerker that lost track of its real story. We split on Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I enjoyed this high-spirited British crime comedy. Elvis wanted to like it, but found it too splashy. Another split decision on Cruel Intentions. We both thought it was like teenagers playing dress-up, but I was amused, and Elvis was indifferent. We split again on Harold Ramis's comedy Analyze This. I thought Robert De Niro was a lot of fun as a mobster in therapy, but Elvis thought De Niro was just recycling old material. And finally, we both really despised Wing Commander, which is based on a video game. We kept wanting to push a button and blast it off the screen, but Elvis, that's how you felt about almost every movie this week. So out of voting thumbs down on 5 movies, If they had to choose one of them, which one should they pick?
I'm feeling pretty good about this, actually. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It shows some technique. It's got some real energy and a kind of this pop opportunism that's a lot of fun. It's proud to be superficial, not unlike me.
Okay, well, in that case, I agree with you on that, but I also think Analyze This is worth seeing, and for that matter, Cruel Intentions. Remember, you can hear our reviews on the web at Siskel-Ebert.com, and next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including True Crime, starring Clint Eastwood as a journalist fighting to free a death row convict.
Did you kill that woman or not?
Also, Forces of Nature, a romantic comedy starring Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock. And thanks a lot, Elvis, for being here on the balcony this week. It was a lot of fun.
It's good to be here, Roger. Thank you. And until next week, the balcony is closed.